Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm back. It's weird. I'm back on the last day of the week. We're going to make it a good one. It's House Divided here on Orange Bloods Live. So cool today, Chad. I was having a conversation with somebody who knew nothing about what we do. And this person mentioned that their house was divided because they were Astros and Rangers fans.
Yeah.
And I was like, house divided. You have no idea. And then I didn't even bother getting into the conversation because I have a show to do and I need to work like Texas football has been working in NIL. How about that for a segue? That is why they pay us the mediocre dollars, Mr. Hastings.
That took like 28 seconds. That was like radio promo length. Well done.
Yeah, man. Every once in a while, I'll throw like a little 98 mile right down the middle of the plate just to remind everybody that the heater can still come and still get knocked out of the park. Guys, like, comment, subscribe to the page. Jump into the Specs chat. Do your thing, man. Like, super chat it up. I don't think I've taken a super chat since Monday. So, you know,
let's get that done.
Cut to the front of the line and like we'll make it happen. So, Chad, let's just get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because there's no reason not to.
So you just
I can't think of a reason to filibuster other than to talk about why there's no reason to filibuster.
You just went back. First, you had like laser guided transition, and then you just went completely awkward, fell on the sidewalk transition.
Waka, waka, waka.
Let's do it because we should do it.
So today, last few days have been kind of weird with Texas football in that really for the last couple of weeks, and especially since the season ended, but these conversations are never living in a box. Texas football players they've been playing football up until this week, but they've been watching what's happening in the portal. They've been watching the rest of college football and their peers take advantage of this new era of college football where programs have money to spend on players and not just the NIL collectives. And Texas has been holding on for dear life in a lot of ways because everybody on the roster wanted new deals. Everybody wants to get paid. Like, I get it. If you found out that every single YouTube channel in the world was making so much money that everybody was getting raises, you'd be like, hey, man, I hear business is really good. Can Uncle Chad get an uncle raise? And it would be like, yeah, we're rolling in it. Let's do it. That sounds crazy, right? But that's what college football's kind of been like in the last few months. Schools that really weren't really having a lot of success in NIL suddenly kind of forced to spend at least $20 million inside of their own athletic department. And then although those budgets haven't been announced everywhere, we've seen a few. Most schools are directed about 75% of that money to football. Now, I'm sure it'll be different for the Kentuckys and the Kansases of the world. But if you were in the Big 12, SEC, ACC, whatever, you're in for $20 million this year, and a lot of that's going to football. So Texas players been watching. They've been seeing guys, their peers get paid. Believe me, they hear the specifics. When I say on this show that college football players show other college football players their contracts, I mean, Texas will have a junior day. And when they talk about NIL, the players will bring their contracts and go, hey, man, no need for me to tell you how it works. Here's the contract. Read it.
So you don't just mean within a team. This could be recruits coming in. This could be somebody from another team asks you a question. Like, this information is being shared through multiple channels.
Well, yeah, because previously Texas has taken pride on our checks clear. We pay exactly what we say we're going to pay, and we pay exactly when we say we're going to pay it, and we don't miss. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but believe me, That is not the way it is across college football, and not even with programs like Texas A&M. We've seen players like Walter Nolan and Evan Stewart make little snide remarks about when people would talk about all the money they made at A&M. They'd reply back like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was not like that. Whereas even in the last couple of weeks, someone tried to ask a former Texas player, the kid, the defensive tackle.
Sweat Murphy?
No, Trill Carter, who was at Auburn.
Yeah.
And Trill Carter was asking on social media that he needed a lawyer. And somebody was like, those Texas NIL checks not clear? And he replied, no, man, they were good. They did everything they said they were going to do, got nothing but positive things to say. So that's been their rep. So when they would host junior days, it's a hell of a thing to have a Kelvin Banks or, pick any player on the roster and have them say, hey, man, this is how it works here. This is how it works. I get everything that this is how it works. Here's the contract. This is what they require. This is the amount of money. This is when I get paid. And they're good, man. I don't know about these other schools that you're visiting, but I can tell you what my experience is, A+. So what Texas has been the best in the country at retention. We've talked about this. They've never lost a player in the portal prior to this most recent window that they've ever wanted to keep. Guys like Jaron Thompson and Trill Carter go into the portal, and Texas has been like, cool, you know what? Money may be better invested elsewhere. But they've never lost a key contributor, really. Jaron Thompson does not play this year, for instance. He would not be playing ahead of Jelani McDonald. Like, that guy was getting on the field. And so when they lose guys previously, they've kind of been guys that they're okay losing. The fear was that in the portal window that just closed, and there's a 48-hour window where guys can put their names into the portal. So if they'd done it on Wednesday, today would have been the day that it would go public. And it did today. Texas tight end Amari Niblack goes into the portal. 10th Texas player in totality to enter the portal in this cycle, but the first to enter it since the end of the season. And so everybody else that they've lost were guys that did, the Jonte Cooks of the world. They were like gone. There was some real concern this week, Chad, that a guy like Malik Muhammad might enter the portal. And that's different. That is a starter from the number one ranked secondary in the country. Yeah. You lose Jahdae Barron, so he's your only returning outside corner. Like, he's an important player. He's already made a lot in NIL, but is watching the market and says, I think I can make more. There was some thought that they might lose multiple key contributors / maybe bottom of the roster starters. Guys, if we were to rank 1 through 22, who the best starters were on the team, maybe they would lose a guy that would be somewhere between 17 and 22. Mm-hmm. They didn't. According to my sources that I spoke with earlier today, Niblack's the only guy that they expect to lose in this, cycle of the portal. The date for them to enter has passed. Another one will arrive in the spring, and I would fully expect there to be some names in the spring. In fact, there's an offensive lineman that he's going to go through spring football, so things can obviously change, but there is a non-starting offensive lineman on the team, someone who hasn't really played it at all, that is expecting to portal out after the spring, but is going to go through spring football and see what happens, and you could see some of that. But the key thing is Texas seems to have locked up all their key contributors. Everybody, I've been told they've had dozens of meetings, different players. It has been frantic. Even, we've even heard that a guy like Chris Del Conte has been very nervous this week about there's just a lot of moving parts. They don't have all of the money that they need. Like these things are just, it's a little bit of a zoo.
Yeah. So in terms of this discussion we've been having about the level of interest, the ability to get that money, this sounds like something where the time crunch came into play with this little 5-day window after the game. So big picture in terms of being able to do that. Do you think Sark, CDC, and the powers that be, they feel better about their ability to do it moving forward now?
Oh, man, I think
they're just going like this one time.
No, man. Today is like cocaine and champagne, baby. It is party like it's 1999 and there is no 2000 because, and I'm just kidding. I've never used cocaine, swear to God. Chad, I can't speak for them. Those dudes from the Hatch, they get down, but
dude, let me tell you, the most important thing in my life is probably that I have never actually gotten into the cocaine. Because catch, if a nose this big ever got into cocaine,
you'd be like Gonzo from the fucking Muppets.
I could snort it all. And that's why it's very important that we stay away.
I once had a party at my house. It's like 20 years ago. And I walked into a spare bedroom and there were like 10 models, like model looking women in this room. And they were all dressed to the nines. And there was one guy at the dresser. You know, when you have like your fifth, like you have like a spare bedroom. It was a 4-bedroom house. This is like bedroom number 4.
Sure.
You know the furniture that you put into your spare bedroom?
Yeah.
It's like IKEA. It's like an empty IKEA dresser. This dude had a mound of cocaine. Like a mound. I don't know what it was, but it was big enough that it looked like a mound.
Scarface.
It looked like an anthill.
The Scarface thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you know when you go to the pool hall, and I see a $69.99 super chat. As soon as I'm doing my cocaine story, we will move on to it. By the way, this video may now get flagged on YouTube because I said the C word. It's a different C word, Chad.
It is different. Yeah, that's true.
If it happens, we know what I did.
Yeah, be an easy one.
But there was like this little mound. It looked like when you go to the pool hall and they have the chalk. And I was like, dude, you got to go. He cannot be here.
Yeah, we got to.
I didn't care that all of the good-looking women were in there with him. It was like, you got to go, man. It's like 3:00 in the morning. I can't have mounds of cocaine in my house. So
we can't.
That's my cocaine story. The time I evicted a guy who came, he was carrying in a lot of ways. A lot of lesser men would have said, well, the women want it.
Yeah, we're glad. Anyway, we are glad you had the control.
Yeah, no, that's what it's control. It's a big part of me. But in a metaphorical world, it's cocaine and champagne because they are still the best in the country at retention. It's pretty incredible that they were able to keep the team intact. They've got a roster full of guys like Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons, who are, both those guys were first-team All-Americans on ESPN's All-American team this week.
Yeah, multiple lists, yeah.
They're coming back. Those guys could enter the portal. Colin Simmons, now that he's proven, we know that like a Decorian Moore or a Fasusi, that those guys are in like the 1.5, 1.75 million range per year. Year one, that's what they're getting. Imagine what those guys are going to be preseason first-team All-Americans. And what they would be available for, what they could get in the open market, like who knows? Honestly, who knows? And so it's not just taking care of those guys, though. And I'm told those two guys a year ago probably would have combined for about, I don't know, just ballpark round numbers, not getting too deep into the weeds, like 1.5 million combined. Add like 2 million on top of that. Like those guys are going to get taken care of in NIL, but they had to. Like this isn't like Texas is trying to be Adrian Broner. Is that too dated of a reference? Adrian Broner at the strip club.
Ooh, Adrian Broner. Man, it's a
Remember when
reference.
he once flushed $50,000 down the toilet?
Yeah, it's a reference. I'm not
That
sure.
dude was wild. That dude was wild back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies, Google. That's one for the kids to Google. Trust me, Adrian Broner, former boxer.
Yeah.
That'd be a fascinating Google search.
Adrian Broner, the answer to the question, what if Floyd Mayweather couldn't box? That's who Broner
I guess. I wouldn't even put that on Floyd. I get what you're saying, but Adrian Broner, but from a strip club standpoint,
yeah,
sure.
You're right. That might be a little unfair.
I've just never seen Floyd flush $50,000 down the toilet.
No, that's fair.
And Floyd ain't ever running out of money. Adrian Broner.
That is true.
So, but I think they've probably had NIL conversations with at least half the roster. At least. And, it's not just guys that are playing. They got guys like former 5-star. I'll give you an example. Xavier Filsaime. Red shirts this year, was committed to Florida. Isn't locked in automatically to be a starter by any stretch at Texas. Like, he's got to fight to get on the field. Florida looks like they might be pretty good next year. That while the coach is on the hot seat, it does look better 12 months on with DJ Lagway having settled in and that team showing some guts at the end of the season. A guy like Filsaime could say, you know what? I think I'm going to go. I'm going to see what I'm worth, and I might go to Florida. I could have just as easily have gone there 12 months ago. They keep him. They keep everybody. There's a bunch of guys on the roster that are no sure things to have absolute roles next year at various positions. And think about a guy like Trey Owens. I'm just throwing this out there. But there's no guarantee that I have no idea whether he'd be a player that would be in this discussion. I think most likely not. I've never heard his name mentioned with NIL, but that guy might think like Cameron Rising and Casey Thompson before him, that after one season on campus, I got to go start somewhere else. He enters his name into the portal. Like, that guy would have been, I think, heavily sought. His reputation has only grown in the last 12 months. If that guy had really wanted to, he could have he's going to be the backup next year. So they're one play away from Trey Owens being the starting quarterback. So he's important, but not starting quarterback important. And they kept everybody. Amari Niblack's the guy they lost. And look, that guy might have been a starting tight end in 2025. It's not a guarantee. He's not a good blocker. He didn't play a lot last year. He never could get Juan Davis off the field, which I really don't know what that means. You think Juan Davis is going to go to an NFL training camp?
I don't know. But there's been questions about, is he for sure headed to the NFL?
Oh, yeah. He's out of eligibility.
Oh, that's right, because he can't come back for that. Camp somewhere, yes. Will he make a roster? I don't know. I can't think of a time he was utilized where he didn't do exactly what he was asked to do. And I think he could be a problem if you scheme it up right.
He got the first 2 targets of the game.
He did. I kept saying, if you run the right play and you run a wheel route to him, he'll be wide open. They never ran it, but I'm telling you,
he caught 2 passes in that game against Ohio State before Gunnar Helm had a ball thrown to him.
Yeah.
So he couldn't get that guy off the field, but he would have. Texas plays with a lot of 2 tight ends. He's the only real experience they have at tight end. Jordan Washington now becomes, paramount to this offense next year. They don't need him to be a star. They think he has a chance to be that kind of guy, though. I had him ranked as a mid 4-star, I think number 25 in the state-ish when he signed a year ago. And that was probably higher. I think that was considerably higher than anybody else. I'd have to check, but he was like a 3-star for a lot of people. And I just love the guy coming out. Didn't think he was a super blue chip, but I had him very close to that. Mm-hmm. And they think he's got a chance to be a plus starter, but he has to be. He's the only tight end in the roster that's really – they got the William Randalls of the world and the Spencer Shannons. Those guys haven't played. They're going to be redshirt sophomores next year, and they're going into year 3 and they just haven't played. And so what is it that you expect of guys that haven't proven yet that they're of that level? They got a couple of badass freshmen, but you're also in a position where Cameron Townsend, maybe the best tight end of the bunch, probably. He's one of the only guys in this freshman class that is not here for spring football. So a guy that if he were, you might think to yourself, well, that guy might put himself into a position real early on with spring football and then the fall maybe be able to be on the 2 deep and it be okay. Who knows? But other than Niblack, Texas hasn't lost anybody. They keep Malik Muhammad. They keep everybody that they really wanted to keep. The 2 players I would say that they've lost since the cycle began, I think they would have liked to have kept Sadir Mitchell, not at a great NIL cost, but they would have liked to have kept Sadir Mitchell, and they would have liked to have kept Amari Niblack. But other than that, that's it. And, when you think of other high-level programs, Ohio State lost Quinn Ewers. They lost a guy that for the last 2 seasons would have been their starting quarterback, unless you believe that Kyle McCord would have beat Quinn Ewers out a year ago. And it's, come on. Ohio State's not starting Kyle McCord ahead of Quinn Ewers anymore. They were going to start Hudson Card in front of Quinn Ewers. So Ohio State, they've lost Quinn Ewers. Think about Georgia. Adonai Mitchell. I mean, he was going to be their number 1 receiver in Texas post-show. Texas has never lost a guy like that. But had they lost Malik Muhammad, we would have said that's a big loss. Mm-hmm. And then we would have said, wow, they lost Malik Muhammad and Jahdae Barron's going to the draft. They got to break in 2 corners. And it was just, and one of the things I talked about with people, or they brought up to me, I didn't bring it up. This was a talking point that my sourcing was mentioning. They like their reputation. They like that there's almost a don't mess with Texas kind of attitude. We're going to keep our guys. Don't you worry about that. I don't think they wanted a dent in that armor. And it was brought up to me that, it's a little bit like they like paying their bills and they like having a reputation for whatever we say we're going to do, we deliver. And there are no examples of that otherwise. I think they like that reputation. And I think they like inside the program, hey man, we don't lose guys we want to keep, period. Yeah. And, if we lose a Sadir Mitchell, it's because we decided at some point it's not the juice isn't worth the squeeze. But on any guy where we think the juice is worth the squeeze, we keep our guys. And I think if Steve Sarkisian were doing a press conference today, an exit interview for the media, I think that's what he would say. And as it relates to Sark, I had someone today specifically tell me, like, Sark probably played a big role. Now, I think the lion's share of the credit needs to go to the NIL people. And they're not done. It's going to be expensive. But, on some of these guys where it was a close call, I was told Sark face-to-face, sit down, and Sark convinced some of these kids, like, hey, man, stay here. It's not better elsewhere. And that, Sark played a key role. I don't know this specifically with Muhammad, but I was kind of told it in the context that I think it probably applies to Malik Muhammad, that Sark will deserve some credit. He won't get it. Nobody will write about it. But if there was ever a book that were to come out in detail kind of how all of this went down, I think a little bit more digging would show. And Malik might even say it in the offseason if he has player availability. I think what we would hear is I stayed because Sark and the relationship I have, and when I come in and we're going to be a top 5 national team in the preseason, probably top 3, maybe number 1. There could be no better place. And I think Sarkisian, in a few of these instances, really played a key role. So I think Again, inside the facility, I think everybody will feel like from a team effort, from the AD all the way down to the guys that are involved in Texas NIL and everything in between, I think they will feel like this was a mission accomplished with a 5-star grade. They'll feel really good tonight and going into the weekend that they can take a deep sigh of relief and feel like, okay, we think we've got a chance to win a national championship this season. It's all predicated upon we have to keep the guys that give us the confidence that we can win a national championship, and they feel like they've done that. And the Ohio States of the world, they still have a little bit of work to do. Their season will end, and I'm guessing because Ohio State and Texas have very similar profiles. Very similar. I mean, Ohio State has a better roster right now than Texas does. When this season is over with, I would imagine there's going to be a lot of those same conversations. It will be interesting to see if Ohio State has any defections. Do they lose anybody that would be a headline on ESPN.com? We'll see. They'll have their work cut out for them just the way Texas did.
All right, Catch. A while ago, you asked for super chats. You want to see them?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
Okie dokie. We start with this interesting amount. Thank you, Matt, for $69.69.
Get you some, Matt.
Pass prime on pass prime. This is the first one of those we've had. Jill Biden or Judge Judy? I got to go with the judge on that one. Got to go with the judge. The stories, the attitude, the fire. Going Judge Judy. Not looking at pictures. Don't need to. Judge Judy.
I don't care if you're not looking at pictures. I'm looking at pictures.
No, I know. I that is the smart way to go. I'm just going on gut feel. Going with the judge.
Look, 69-69. This man deserves an educated answer.
Okay.
I am now looking at the good judge.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only known Judge Judy after she's famous as Judge Judy. I've never seen a photo of a younger Judge Judy, and I've never looked at Judge Judy and thought to myself, I wonder what she looked like when she was young. But now that the question has come in, I'm thinking of her in that capacity. And can I say she's a very attractive woman?
Oh, yeah.
I've never thought that.
Yeah.
She's like an ant. You don't
See,
look at your ants and be like,
yeah. See, I've seen stories on her, and I've seen pictures from the past and things like that. So I'm not a religious watcher of the show or anything.
That being said,
that's where I was coming from. And hey, Jill Biden's good looking too.
Jill Biden, I'm looking at photos of it. She was a smoke show.
Yeah. But again, was a smoke show is not the deal here.
Prime on prime.
No. Past prime on past prime.
Yes.
No. Matt, I'm reading this as Matt is saying they're both past their prime. It's today. He's saying
I'm still going Biden. I'm still going Jill.
All right, there you go. See, as always, double date time. I'm going Judge Judy. You'll go Jill Biden. That'd be a hell of a lunch right there. We'd have to do lunch because they're a little older, so we couldn't do a late night. It would have to be like a brunch. There would have to be eggs Benedict involved in that one.
The thing is, that's just an age I know one day, if I'm lucky, like Jill Biden is 73 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, remember when you had your Tina Turner thing when she was still with us?
Whoa. Had my Tina Turner thing. Don't act.
She's not with us. It is past tense.
Yeah, but the thing can still exist. I still love me some Tina Turner. Don't act like that's gone.
Cleopatra was hot, but I'm not like, it's a current thing for me. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but
I understand. Okay. The technicality. But yes, I remember back in the day having Tina Turner discussions.
Let me just my mom's not 73.
Okay.
So if you're making me look up current, I guess you gave 69.69. So it's not like that was $1.99.
Right.
And you are impacted, like you've scarred me. But yeah, no, how old is Judge Judy?
Yeah, I don't know. Good question.
You totally stopped the show. Do you have a guess?
Judge Judy, she's probably into her 70s, right? It's like 71.
Guess.
I'll say 71.
Hold on. Let's see. Golly. I clicked on the Wikipedia page for, like, I don't know what her name is. Judith Shinlin. Okay.
Yeah.
She is 82.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
That's like, no, man. No,
She's up in Jerry's realm right now. Okay, I got you.
Oh, you just made it worse.
Fair enough. I'm just saying I'm somebody I know that's, that I know of that's basically that age. All right. We had a couple other smaller amounts.
I just want to for those of you that were Judge Judy in the chat, you have time to change your answer.
I was gonna say I got ripped earlier for the Judge Judy comment. Now they're really gonna get on me for that. $4.99 from Dirkley. Do you think Sarkisian would ever go to the NFL? Ever?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, ever? Yes. Right now, no.
My full expectations are that Steve Sarkisian will wait until after Arch Manning has finished up his run. And then who knows? I mean, if you're Sarkisian, that might be, if you win a national championship or compete with one, you'd say play in a national championship game with Arch Manning. It's like Cliff Kingsbury. Like sometimes, man, you need to get out while people still associate you with the thing that made you famous. But I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. But look, if the Dallas Cowboys came calling, just, because they're the Cowboys. And I don't know what Jerry's going to do. Whatever is a bad idea. So he probably wouldn't make a job offer to Steve Sarkisian because there's far worse things that he can do.
Yeah, I do know what he's going to do, by the way. It's in your buy or sell. So just prepare yourself.
I'm just letting you know right now, if they go former OC, currently with the Eagles.
Well, you ruined it. Way to go.
You can't surprise me. I didn't give it away for the audience.
That's true.
But if you're such a nerd that you understand that reference,
they'll know too. Yeah.
I'll, just.
Yeah.
But if they offered the job to Sarkisian, I don't know, man. Could you turn down the Dallas Cowboys? I don't know. It's like one of those things that it almost seems, I would imagine, even for a coach like Sarkisian, how can you ever imagine that even being a possibility? So the idea that you would turn it down, because that's when you have to start thinking about, well, what would that actually be? And I got to work for Jerry. And what does that mean? And all that stuff. But just thinking about it out loud, I mean, there are only 32 NFL jobs. And if your goal is to one day have one of those jobs, it's really tough to thumb your nose up when one opens its way up. So I don't think anything's happened imminently, but in a couple of years from now, if Texas continues to have elite success look, NIL is hard on these guys. Who's to say in a couple of years? Remember when Daryl, you don't remember, Chad, because you weren't born. Well, you were, but you weren't in it to win it yet as a college football fan. But your dad would remember when Daryl Royal retired, what led to that? Well, Oklahoma was doing its thing and he just got burned out. And he never did it again. He was burned out. Who's to say that this extra level and recruiting and everything that comes with the job now, it's hard for me to think that we're going to see guys stick around as long as Matt did when he took the job in 1998 and then stayed all the way through the 2013 season. So, I'm not one of these guys that thinks that he'll be here that long. There are some people who think, I'll get buy or sell questions. Do you think Steve Sarkisian will be here, until 2035? It's oh man, that just sounds so far away that probably not. The math would surely say there's a greater chance it more likely than not than yes. So it's kind of where I lean, but there aren't many jobs. Think about what he just pulled off, the resources that Texas has to be able to lean into to not lose any contributors at all. Chad's an A&M fan. Chad, have you guys lost any guys in the portal in the last couple of years that, all things being equal, you'd like to have kept? Sucks when you lose them. I just saw a mock draft. Walter Nolan is projected to be a potential top 10 pick. He was a first-team All-America pick on that ESPN team I referenced earlier. That guy could have been the difference between, I don't know, an extra win for A&M. And I don't mean the bowl game either. Like maybe an extra win. And like, would that have put them in an SEC championship game? I don't know. Like maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But he was a great player this year. And they lost him. And they lost him in part because they were not going to pay him the NIL money that Ole Miss did. That whatever we think of A&M, Walter Nolan went to Ole Miss to get paid. He didn't go to Ole Miss because he thought that'll be the best place for me to showcase my talents and win a national championship. He could have gone to Georgia. He could have gone to Ohio State. He went to Ole Miss to get paid. And like, you know, and look, it's yes, A&M went through a coaching change, so a lot of complications in that. But like, I'm guessing if I asked Chad, would you like to have kept Evan Stewart? He probably would have been like, yeah, man. You know what? Evan Stewart would have helped a lot. And, you know, one thing we haven't seen Texas have to do yet is play the what-if game with guys that have left the portal. Who is the best player that's left Texas through the portal? That, like, after he's left, he's gone on to be something, like, so good that you almost can't help but fantasize. Jaquarian Jackson or Jaquarius?
Jaquindon Jackson?
Jaquindon, sorry. That kind of, I got Jaquindon's name wrong. That kind of gives it away a little bit.
In terms of success,
Jared Wiley?
Cam Rising? Was Cam a portal guy?
He
would have
was,
been, right?
Obviously.
I mean, Cam ended up on there were injuries, obviously, but he also ended up quarterbacking some pretty good teams. Like that's maybe Wiley's an interesting.
I mean, the thing is,
Brew McCoy.
You're talking about 2021 when you talk about Cam because he was never going to beat out Sam.
Right.
And then you probably cost yourself Quinn Ewers if you have Cameron Rising still on the roster.
Yeah, that's true. That one doesn't strike you, especially if you're saying who's someone that's left that's been impactful and it really hurts Texas fans.
Cam Rising's turned into he's taking another year like that. He's way if you bring up Cam Rising on Orange Bloods, he is that dude never stays healthy guy and not. Oh my God, that guy could have been our quarterback guy. So
yeah, is he coming back again? Is he getting another one?
Yes.
Oh, I do love the Cam Rising plan. He's putting everybody in the rearview mirror. You realize that, right? Like all our lives, all the Carlos Huerta mentions, Justin McLemore at Texas.
Oh, Justin McLemore.
There's that
Jordan Shipley was here for a full 6 seasons and missed the first 2 and became an urban legend. By the time he got healthy in 2006, if you said Jordan Shipley's name to a Texas fan, they go, oh, that's not even a real person.
Jordan Shipley, Bo Scaife had one of those paths for a little while that people thought of. There was that cat at Syracuse. I think his last name was like Conlon, a linebacker. He went 6 seasons and everybody thought that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Cam Rising's like
Diego Pavia now is becoming one of those guys.
Pavia will be one. Yeah, you're right. It's just crazy. Cam Rising, triple PhD. Yes, exactly. He's still going. We've got a super chat from Blake. We're going to get to that.
We got another one for David. Let's just not, you're going to do it. You're going to pay a bill first?
If you want to throw David, and I do see the $10. Yeah, let's get a bill paid here because we haven't done that yet. We will tell you about the watch party for the championship game coming up before we are done. But remember, if you have your own watch party going and it needs a little upgrade for next year, AV Consultations is the way to go. Ketch was just talking about the Cowboys. It made me think of all the way back to the late 80s when Jerry took over, right in that 88, 89 era. Well, 88 is when AV Consultations cranked up. Last time Notre Dame won the national title, this is when they started. So they've been going that long, locally owned and operated, making sure people are satisfied. Call them at 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. When we play that recorded spot, you've seen all the different setups that are possible, multiple screens, bigger screens. Let them handle everything. Let them buy the TV. Let them handle the furniture, the setup, the speakers, the cords, the way everything is done. Let them handle every detail, and you will be satisfied, just like all those people have since 1988. 255-8678 or go to avconsultations.com. 6:30 Monday night is Notre Dame and Ohio State. And once again, we are headed out to TCH Social Austin, 183 and Anderson Mill. Come on out and see us for the watch party. An OB crew watch party. Going to be a lot of folks there. You might have the 4 Modcast guys in the room together, and alcohol may be flowing. I mean, if you don't want the live Modcast in that situation, you're never going to want it. We'll have that Monday night for you. All right, let's go to higher money here. David with 10. Did you see the Micah Hudson news? Article stated he is dealing with mental health issues and adjusting to A&M. Are we sure it's not just adjusting to College Station and he's in a perfect mental state? Wow. There you go.
David, I don't know what's going on with Micah Hudson, and it's none of my business. And I don't mean I'm not being like a wise ass to you. I'm just saying I heard that information yesterday, like everybody else did. And like I just hope he's doing okay. And here's to Micah Hudson just doing whatever he needs to get to the place he needs to be in. Like, I don't know what he's dealing with. I've not walked in his shoes. And as a human being, I hope everything ends up okay with him and that, he gets to continue this journey at A&M. I'm one of these guys. I root for everybody. I always joke, like the only guy that I never really rooted for was Kyler Murray, that I just could never be a fan. And that I always kind of rooted against him. But like, and he and I had an interesting little history. There was a little bit there. And it actually had nothing to do with my reporting on him. He was just a little mouthy. Like, I called him Johnny Manziel with a jetpack. Like, that's what I called him as a prospect. In the scouting report, I called Kyler Murray, he's Johnny Manziel with a jetpack on. That feels like Chad, that felt like a big compliment at the time.
At the very least, it doesn't feel like an insult.
No, like we won the Heisman and was a first-round draft pick.
You can talk about what it is on one side of it, but it definitely doesn't come off as a diss, like some kind of shade you're throwing at Kyler Murray.
His response to me was, keep my name out your mouth. Okay, Kyler, I won't say your name anymore.
There it is.
That was a high school kid. Sorry, kid, didn't mean to call you Johnny Manziel with a jetpack. So I look at Micah Hudson, man, and like I just want that kid to live out his dreams to the fullest. And he has the potential to be a first-round draft pick one day. Like, he's got that much talent. Here's hoping that, he's not a weird cautionary tale about mental health and like taking it seriously. Here's hoping that Micah Hudson is just taking his mental health seriously. It's one of the cool things I like about these young kids today. They think about stuff like that. Anybody that's ever lost anybody to suicide at a young age, man, I'm all for that kid just getting better, getting what he needs.
Yeah, David, sometimes these stories pass a point where it's not funny anymore. And obviously this is my school too. So if it sounds like I'm overly sensitive, maybe that's what it'll sound like. But to me, I get that a College Station joke might be the way to go sometimes. I don't know. It feels like this one might be a little bit past funny. We'll see.
We just don't know. Like, I
don't know. I hope not. I hope it's not past funny. I hope it's still like a silly, crazy, it's just a kid trying to figure stuff out and the jokes might be appropriate, but I don't know. Nowadays, when you hear
I would err on the side of caution.
Yeah, when you hear the words mental health, it just makes you think of all the other stuff. So, Yeah, it's great. But, hopefully down the road, there'll be an opportunity for like a joke about Lubbock and College Station and you roll with it. But like you said, just hope the best.
And who knows? Like maybe that'll be in like 2 weeks.
Maybe. And well, wherever it is, man. I
Yeah.
hope he finds a place that works for him. If it's A&M, fine. If it's not, whatever. Like just figure out what.
Well, I think that story is a reminder of like, no matter what's happening, the pressure that's on these young men is even higher than it's ever been before. Because the general attitude is now, hey, man, take off the kid gloves. These are professional athletes.
Right.
And we get that. You get it. But at the same time, a teenager, first year in college, didn't get to play a lot, coming off of injury, all of those expectations. I can keep going. And then I can go, oh, man, maybe my brain would have been melted too. Because I can remember being 18 and sad because a girl broke up with me. 18 and like the weight of the world. Yeah, like I can imagine like needing to maybe consider some of that. So again, I think what this story does, it should serve as a reminder that for all of the these guys are getting paid, and so like there's no reason to talk about them like they're amateurs anymore. And like, I get it, I really do, and it's fair. But we need to be able to have enough compassion that just remember, like, hey man, remember when you were 18? Like, just because you have a wealth of athletic talent and suddenly it means to money doesn't mean that like life can't be real hard and tough to deal with.
All right, let's grab a $5 from Blake. It's been sitting there a sec. Blake, thank you for that. Buy or sell. If Arch wasn't sitting behind Quinn, you would tell Quinn to stay at Texas one more year for a higher draft stock.
I mean, yeah, sure. I would not. I was not telling Quinn Ewers to go into the draft. That wasn't my opinion. I knew that's what he was going to do.
Yeah.
But I don't know that that's the best option for him. Anwar and I disagree on this. Anwar is convinced that Quinn Ewers is going to be a first-round draft pick.
Blake,
I am not.
Blake, the specter of Arch Manning, and I say specter, just the I don't know, the presence of Arch Manning just changes so much of it. I've never thought of it that way. I think it's probably a buy because if you didn't have Arch, would you have someone that's behind him? And
Texas fans would be really gassed up about it. They would love that. I mean, in a world where there's no Arch, you're getting your starting quarterback to come back. And oh, by the way, how much would that have cost?
Right. That's different.
Do you realize, Chad, that if Arch were on the open market, he could probably get $10 million for 1 year.
Yeah. No, it's crazy.
And because his last name is Manning, they're not really, I still don't know whether or not he's getting paid for an NIL deal.
I mean, that was real quick. Was it your note? It was your note in the war room last night? An Anwar note. That note about kind of the thought process of Manning, that was pretty wild to think about. But it is so unique because the patience of that family, the mindset of that family, the way they're dealing with all of this is so unique. You couldn't compare it to anybody else. And in the end, if Texas can get the full ride out of it, which for me would be 2 more full seasons, like it'll be well constructed if they can get to the end of 2026 with Manning.
I had a source last night while I was driving back say, thank God. We were just chatting about if Arch wanted to get paid, Texas would be screwed. They are not in a position NIL wise, or if Arch was like, hey man, I can get $7 million from Oregon. Can you do that? He would have gotten his $7 million, but all of the other $7 million that went to retaining talent on this, there's a world out there where he's like, hey, I deserve market value. And you know what? my family is not telling me not to. Let me go see what I'm worth and what I can get. Texas just got over the finish line.
Yeah.
And
And
the roster that they have, and they did it by the hair of the chinny chin chin.
Yeah. And that could be also, think about it. It could also be like a weird version of it where if they keep it together, Manning could have been part of the reason they kept it together, but without the money part, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the notion of, it's like, well, if that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy were to end up somewhere else, don't we kind of think 16 may not love that? And don't we have to consider, you know what I mean? Just the presence of Arch and what's going on. I don't know. I wonder if that ends up helping at some point where you're like, we got to keep it.
It doesn't hurt. That's the thing. Like,
we got to keep it together for a lot of reasons. He's one of them. Clearly.
Things are often decided by really narrow margins. So if you have one, like, cool. The difference between we don't know who our quarterback is going to be next year. So, you know what am I coming back to? Right. Versus, for instance, if you were a junior at Oklahoma and trying to decide, well, I could be a first or second round draft pick, or I can come back to OU. You know, they're going to ask themselves, what am I playing for? What do we, like, realistically, what's the goal? And if he can't look in the mirror and say, hey, we think we're absolutely going to be in the playoffs, what are you playing for? And I think there was a real sense of the guys making decisions that there was not a better place that they could be, that they might be able to go make more money, but they're at the top of the food chain in college football. Where are you going to go that's going to give you a better chance to compete for a national championship? So you can't look yourself, if you enter the portal, and let's say you're Malik Muhammad, you can't say you can't in your announcement say, as part of it, I'm just trying to look and find a place to go compete for a national championship. Well, you got that. You have that. And you start on that kind of team. So, I'll just say it again. What they were able to achieve, I think, is real cause for celebration. I don't say that lightly. I don't tell people to always get excited about wins, right? We nitpick wins. Right. And I'll say always enjoy them. You always enjoy the wins. You only do it on the average 1 out of every 35 days, 36 days a year. Yeah. So enjoy the wins. But this is like a win. This is a reason, if you're a Texas fan, to feel really good this weekend. Because I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. And especially
Chad, I was expecting like 2 or 3 names.
Right.
And it didn't happen. And Trey Moore's coming back, and DJ Campbell's coming back. And while I don't think there was really anywhere for him to go, I did wonder if he might be a guy that it would enter the portal and maybe just see, there were some profiles of guys.
Yeah. Trey Moore's a nice one.
It's been for all of the Tuesday and Wednesday, it was like, oh, Jaden Blue. And it started with Blue, and it was like, oh my God, the NFL just rated the roster. Now look, Texas is sitting at 81 scholarships as I speak. And we know there will be attrition in the spring. Some. So, even a couple of more guys, they enter the portal in the spring. And I have one that I already have a pretty good idea that's going to happen. So, they'll lose a couple of guys for playing time issues. There will be guys that will say, well, I'm not even on the 2 deep on the offensive line. I need to go. So Texas is going to be in a position, I think, where they can, at a minimum, go after a half dozen guys in the spring portal. And by any means necessary, Texas needs to add talent. They do. Here's a stat, Chad, and I'm going to see if you can answer the trivia question. Okay.
Okay.
There are 2 seniors on offense across all positions as things currently stand going into next year. Do you know both seniors?
2 seniors on.
Nye Black was number 3, and he's gone.
2 seniors on offense across the board.
One should be obvious.
Is Robertson a senior?
No, not even close. I just said his name.
Well, you said Niblack would have been third, but
DJ Campbell is one.
Okay, Campbell.
Cole Hudson.
Well, I was on the right position. I just missed.
Those are the only two seniors on the Texas offense going into next year, which means you return a bunch of guys from 2025 to 2026.
Yeah, no doubt. Well done. By the way, well done, Tex guy. Thank you. I should have let you help me cheat, and I didn't do it. Hudson and Campbell is absolutely correct. All right, we had one more super chat to clean off, and we can continue the discussion. There's a couple regular chats I wanted to get you to react to as well. But Barbs10 throws a $4.99 at us. Thank you, Barbs10. For Sark to take the Cowboys job, he would need total control of the team, like Coach McGinty from The Replacements. Lord have mercy.
I totally disagree.
Why in the world would anybody want that job? I don't even know. Barbs, yeah.
I mean, no, I just disagree. Steve Sarkisian's never who gets total control as a head coach. Belichick doesn't even have total control.
Yeah. You don't need total control. What you need is a football GM. That's what you need, and that's what you'll never get. But you'll get all the Cowboy stuff that comes with it. Biggest circus in the world, like biggest circus on earth.
Well, if you win, you're a god.
If you win, you're a god. But you're at the biggest circus on earth, and they don't think the elephant trainer matters. They don't think making sure the tigers don't eat the people matters. That's the circus you're working in if you take that job. Hey, do we have an elephant trainer? Nah, it's the son of the owner. Huh? So he doesn't have experience in elephant training? God, no. No, that's not how we do it. It's not how we do it at all. If you want to throw us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. Catch, I wanted you to address this one real quick because I thought it was an interesting, quick question from Money B. Timing wise, did a new flux of NIL cash come through the last 3 days? Money B is wondering, is this really like a 72-hour kind of thing since the loss to now that there's just been a new pile of money showed up?
No.
Okay.
I do not think they have all of the money to pay the bills right now. But most of the NIL money kicks in August. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, but August and when guys report is really when a lot of the money is due. So they've got time, but no. I mean, there's a new flux of money that's owed, but that's not the same thing as a new influx of cash. They will, over the course of the next 6-7 months, doing some serious fundraising.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good question, Money B. I like that one. Let me clean off a couple more chats here real quick. I thought this one was interesting. Rex, maybe my monitor's off, but Chad looks like he's doing this show shirtless. Rex, I noticed that as we were coming on, it is kind of in the beige sort of nude area. This is a new poncho t-shirt that my man Bo Edge got me, and I love the poncho shirt. They're very comfortable. I did notice that though, with the way this logo is. I sat there, I'm like, oh my God, I may look like I don't have a shirt. It is a shirt. Yes, it's just kind of in that color scheme. Also, this was interesting to me, Catch, from Michael. What's wild is that Ohio State and Notre Dame took fewer than 10 transfers this year. Texas only took 12. That seems informative. You're just talking about how many transfers are there, but you don't go into, 15 or 18 or 21 like we saw what Dion in Colorado do and some of the others. Michael, it's an interesting point. And Catch, you were just mentioning that number that Texas may be looking at going into the spring where, last year we talked about all those guys, the impactful guys out of the portal. How many are we going to talk about moving forward? They just got one back in Trey Moore. So you would hope he's going to be a guy you talk about, but now how many more can they find considering they're about to lose, all three of those receivers plus Makuba, plus obviously, Ewers, right? There's
I think they're going to be so salty on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Adding Trey Moore to that just means they really have a plethora of weapons. And, the one thing that I think they've added in the portal, I think getting the linebacker from Arkansas, I think that guy's going to add to the – so at the edge position and at linebacker, to me, because you return everybody. And I know Leon LaFau struggled at the end of the season and wasn't – God, he had really – the analytics would have said that LaFau was emerging as one of the best players on the roster. As a young player, he was constantly grading out as a high-performance player. Last couple of games this season, what did we learn? Well, you know what? He's not a plus player in the playoffs yet, but he's a young guy. Like, nobody thinks Texas doesn't have a potentially plus linebacker with him. But towards the end of the season, he could have played better. And they lose David Benda, who at the end of the season was a guy that everybody will remember because he made some big plays in his last couple of games, but he had started to become phased out. They're trading Benda for Spence, the kid out of Arkansas, and that's an upgrade for me. Like, I think David Benda's a good player, but I think this kid is a better player. He had 5.5 sacks this year. He's a good foot. Arkansas is a perfect example of what and it's a perfect segue into what I wanted to get into. That's a guy Arkansas would have looked at and said, that's one of our best players on defense next year. We can't lose him. Mm-hmm. But they did. These are really critical numbers. Somebody posted this on Orange Bloods and said these are December, January SEC portal transfer numbers.
Okay.
You want to hear them?
Sure.
Arkansas lost the most with 30.
Oh, dear God. 30?
Oklahoma, 27.
Okay.
Mississippi State, 26.
Yeah, a lot of Bulldogs spread out now.
Bama, 24.
Okay.
Kentucky and A&M, 23 each.
Yeah, I knew the Aggies were over 20.
LSU, 19. Auburn, 19. Tennessee, 18. Florida and Mississippi, 17. South Carolina, 16. Missouri, 15, along with Vanderbilt. Georgia, 14. And it says Texas, 9. Their number's at 10. So maybe that doesn't include Jonte Cook or something like that. But Texas at 10 at most. That is their attrition number at this point, is the lowest in the SEC. And man, when you see that Texas and Georgia are the two schools at the bottom of the SEC with the fewest departures.
Yeah. What's Georgia's number again?
14.
14. Okay.
Combined, Georgia and Texas have the same number as A&M and Kentucky and less than Bama, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Arkansas.
Yeah, that's
when
big.
You consider that they're at the bottom in terms of attrition and just signed each of them the two best incoming classes in the country, you have a real idea of who the best programs are in the SEC because they've got the best rosters. They just had the best seasons and they suffered the fewest losses and they've added the most incoming talent through recruiting. That's the goal. If you really were looking at if you're A&M, the goal moving forward needs to be next year, we need to lose a dozen instead of 2 dozen.
Yeah.
And then we want to be bringing in an elite recruiting class. And you know what? That's how you maintain and then get better. And, you look at Oklahoma and A&M, and they lose so many guys that you wonder, because that doesn't even include if you're A&M, your seniors. So if you add your seniors to that, turned over 50% of your roster?
Yeah. Now, after you read through that, tell me the one fan base that I think should be most concerned about what you just said.
Alabama?
No doubt. Easily. Like, if you're a Bama fan, if you're coated in houndstooth, that's a concerning list for you because of everything you just laid out, because you'll see those two at the bottom in a good way. This is one of those few lists you want to be at the bottom of, right? Georgia, Texas, and you're right up there towards the top.
You're next to Mississippi State.
Oh, that stings right there. Not that we all know Kalen DeBoer's already on whatever he's on, right? Whatever stage, hot seat, or constant watch he's under. But man, that would concern me if I'm in T-Town watching that number, like with 24.
Those are crazy numbers. And
because through what we just went through and the chat and what you just said, the number catches 10. You need to lose around 10 every year. You're going to lose around 10 every year, grab around 10 every year.
That's how I would even say, because Texas will have more. I think you want that number to be below 15 because all of these programs will have more. They're not done.
So maybe it's 12-ish or whatever, like the chatter pointed at. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's 12 or less on each side.
Because what you're doing, and this is what Texas, it's gotten harder for Texas because they've really trimmed the fat. You could, a year ago, if you were a Texas fan, you could have looked, Texas fans have been trying to get Max Merrill off the scholarship board because he never played it down.
Right.
He was on campus for 4 years and had junior eligibility coming through this season. And he literally never played it down. And he graduated and he walked. He's going to get his T ring. And it worked out for Max. But Texas really didn't get anything out of him. You could always look at the scholarship board and go, okay, that guy's an upperclassman. But, I tell you what, here, we'll do this. I'll read you the juniors on this roster. And you tell me, stop me when you think that's dead weight that Texas just doesn't need. Okay.
Okay.
Trey Wisner, DeAndre Moore, Neto Umuzalo, Connor Robertson, Leon Lafau, Anthony Hill, Brad Spence, Malik Muhammad, Derek Williams, Jelani McDonald, Malik Agbo.
Maybe the two names that sounded a little different to me might be Agbo and Umuzalo.
And yet Umuzalo might be a starter next year at left guard.
Yeah, but you need him around.
And Agbo's a guy that they could move to tight end.
Yeah.
Because he was their jumbo tight end 2 seasons ago. They didn't do that with him this year. Now, if you go to Malik Agbo and say, what we want to do with you this year is make you our jumbo tight end, if that guy is still thinking, I want to play in the NFL one day, he may say, I got to get into the portal. But that's a guy they've used before. There's not one guy on that list. Connor Robertson was a guy that came in for Jake Majors last year. Neto, again, is a guy that could be a starter this year. Agbo there's not a guy out of a single one of those 11 juniors. And that's not a lot, by the way. 12 seniors and 11 juniors, and everything else is underclassmen. So now that will change because I would imagine as they go into the portal, they will add seniors, they'll add some upperclassmen. But, it's a very young team. If you look at the scholarship board, I'm looking at it right now, Chad. Whole bunch of freshmen and sophomores. They've got 20 sophomores. They've got twice as many sophomores as they have juniors. So we're being completely honest. It will probably be sophomores that, if you're looking at guys that might be unhappy from the spring that would want to enter the portal, I think you look at that and go, who's not on the field? And if guys aren't on the 2 deep, you're probably looking at the sophomores. But those guys are young. Now, there are a handful of third-year sophomores. So maybe Spencer Shannon and Will Randall are going to be third-year sophomores this year. They've not really played at all. Are they cool? Are they happy? Like, I have no idea, but they fit the profile of in the spring. Who would you look at and just go, I wonder what they're going to do? You're always going to look at guys that have been on the roster for at least a couple of years that aren't on the two deep. And there are a few of those guys. So I would say, those are probably the guys that are on the poop or get off the pot kind of position in the spring.
Right.
Hey, man, this is year 3. This is not a program that sits around and doesn't get young talent to come in and compete. You even think about a guy like Melvin Hills. He's a redshirt freshman. That dude just redshirted. So, he's just getting started. But, oh, by the way, they just brought in Justice Terry and Isaiah Sharma and Myron Charles. And there is always pressure to either get on the field or you just got passed up. And so I think just coming out of the spring, that will be the part of the roster to keep an eye on. But there are not, if I go through the seniors, here, let me real quick. Here are your seniors. Cole Hudson, DJ Campbell, Ethan Burke, Trey Moore, Cole Brevard, Travis Shaw, the 2 new incomers, Jalen Gilbo, Michael Taft, Lance St. Louis, your starting deep snapper, Bert Auburn, Will Stone, and then Jack Beaumouse Meester. What do we decide on for his name?
I like Bo Meester till we hear something different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other than maybe we don't necessarily need 2 senior place kickers, every one of those dudes is really important to next season. So, there won't be a lot of attrition, I think, moving forward amongst upperclassmen. It'll all be what looks like bottom of the roster amongst the young players. But most of these young players, I don't think Texas would want to give up on. You're a young player. We're not done. Neto Umuzalo is a perfect example. He's going to be a 4th-year player next year. But in his 4th year, there will be a real definite need for him to step up and replace what was lost in Hayden Connor. So, the good news is you don't have a deep senior class, but the ones you have are really important. And if you just wanted more senior upperclassmen, you could add 5 guys on there that aren't key contributors. And I think you'd rather just have, if you could trade 5 do-nothing seniors for 5 young and up and coming prospects, you'd take the prospects. That's kind of the way the Texas roster is comprised right now. And it probably is going to be the way that you see. I don't know. I wonder, this might be a good exercise for me. I wonder what the Georgia roster would look like side by side. What does a Georgia scholarship board look like side by side with Texas? How similar are they, considering what we just saw with both of them having the lowest amount of attrition of any school in the country or any school in the SEC?
All right, we're across the hour mark. We'll hit you with some buy or sell coming up. We're talking portal and recruiting. Texas gets through this period of time really impressively in terms of NIL. Amari Nyblack is going to be in the portal. And then as Ketch mentioned, the good news that's staying, if you missed it, DJ Campbell is going to be back. And then Trey Moore is going to be back as well. I had another question. I had a question for you about Nyblack, Ketch. We'll do that. First off, let's talk some drinks. First off, Specs can get you stocked up for the NFL weekend and the championship game. Go get you a couple bottles.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets.
The app can definitely help you there. And, of course, you can also grab yourself some Deep Eddy vodka at Specs if you need to do it that way. There's another place you can get some Deep Eddy vodka, the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room. Maybe you want to just head on out to the beautiful hill country, head on out to Drip, to the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room with some friends. They are ready to roll. We're talking to you at Friday in the 1 o'clock hour. So they're going 11 to 7 Fridays and Saturdays, Sunday 12 to 5. Have one of those great cocktails or maybe a couple. take your DD, get your ride share set up. Make sure you do it responsibly. Also, make sure you have some Crimson Creek Smokehouse barbecue. It pairs perfectly with the incredible vodka out there. Take some friends, take some family, just go have a great time. That's what they're all about at the Deep Eddy Vodka tasting room. We hope everybody is getting ready for another big weekend of NFL action. And then we've got the championship game coming up on Monday. We'll reiterate to you one more time about that watch party we got coming before we get out of here. And again, if you want to shoot us a super chat, it will go right to the top of the list. I don't see any super chats. I did see this one, Catch. Simple question as we move forward. Sandman wants to know who the center's going to be. This conversation starts with Robertson?
I think if it was a relationship, Sandman, it would read, it's complicated. Yes. You've got Connor Robertson. I think would probably be the first team center on the first day of practice. I think. They've got a young guy, a redshirt freshman, and Daniel Cruz, who will compete for the job. But he's a young player. He hasn't played. He's inexperienced. Is that what Texas is going for? I think in the end of the season, we thought the interior of the offensive line was the weakness of the offense. If you had to pick one, when they played Georgia, specifically Georgia, the Georgia game, it was like, oh, that group's not good enough. Well, you lost everybody but Campbell. I think, they've got two true centers, but if they thought Nato Yamuzalo was going to be the guy that won out at left guard, would they prefer to try Cole Hudson at center? We've seen them unofficially have, Hayden Connor, like they've tinkered with the true backup at that position being a different player where they might slide some parts around. So, and they did that this year when Jake got banged up for a couple of plays. They didn't just move. There was, I can't remember what game it was, but they were down. They lost a tackle and they lost their center, and it wasn't like they were just needing to put two guys in for just a spell. It was like maybe three guys, and then everything ended up being okay. That might have been Cam Williams. I'm trying to remember what that was. Remember when Jake got knocked out of the game for a couple plays?
I do, and I'm trying to remember which game that was too. I know what you're talking about. I can't remember which game.
It was in the playoffs. I just can't remember which of the games it was. But anyway, obviously it wasn't a big deal. Can't even remember what game it happened in.
My guess is Clemson.
I don't know. Like Sandman, it's complicated. They do not have, I don't think, other than DJ Campbell, they don't have a single proven player anywhere on the interior of that offensive line. And Campbell is only proven enough that they timeshared with Cole Hudson, who has been the lowest graded offensive lineman in Alex Dunlap's deep digs of all Texas offensive linemen over the course of the last 3 years that have had enough snaps to be eligible to be graded. It usually kind of grades out to like top 7, 8, 9 guys on the offensive line. They need help, man. They needed that kid that committed to Oregon. They needed him. That guy would have walked in and been their best returning offensive lineman.
Yeah, you're talking about Pregnon.
Just interior. So
you're talking about Pregnon?
I think they've got to get more guys.
Right. You're talking about Pregnon from USC?
Yes.
Right. By the way, we were right. It was the Clemson game that we're thinking of for Jake Majors, where he got a little banged up, but then they said that was the game afterwards where Sark said he could have come back if they had needed him.
Yep.
But they decided to go ahead and get to the end. Thank you for that help. Let's see. Here's a little super chat that was snuck in from Chili 199. Best quarterback in the SEC next year. Great show, fellas. Thank you for the great show part, Chili. Best quarterback in the SEC next year.
Let's do this. There's two ways. Who do you think is the best returning quarterback? Because a number of schools will have new starting quarterbacks.
Right.
So who's the best returning?
If we I think is Dart trying to come back to Ole Miss?
No.
Is the kid at Missouri going to be back? Cook.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't know. Let me.
Yeah,
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Obviously, Beck moving on. Ewers moving on. Milrow moving on.
I think for me, it's obvious.
I mean, all right. Who is it?
DJ Lagway.
Okay.
And by the way, Brady Cook is playing in the East Shrine game, so
he's headed out. Okay.
He and Theo, that literally just happened 44 minutes ago.
Gotcha.
That he and Theo Weiss Jr. Accepted invitations to the East-West Shrine Bowl per a Missouri release.
Is it Lagway and Pavia if he can get another year?
Well, Pavia is coming back. I mean, yeah, it's one of those. It's DJ Lagway. Now the question is, of the incoming guys, who do you think is the best player? Nobody in the SEC would not take Arch Manning as their starting quarterback. So
I know. Yeah. It makes me feel like we're a little too in the bubble to talk about it that way, but I think that's true. And I think, like you said, the folks outside of our bubble would probably think, hey, now, I gladly would take 16 on my team.
And maybe the only people that wouldn't would be Florida.
Yeah.
Just because they're immersed in DJ Lagway and he's already there and he's already started games and they're like, no, we're good. Because Florida will think DJ Lagway is the same level of prospect as Arch Manning. His last name's just not Manning. But
by the way, how about that matchup at the Swamp coming up?
Might be the best quarterback matchup in all of college football in 2025.
Arch has got to go to him. That will be absolutely something.
Hey, man, and how ironic is that given that that game in the Texas-Florida game was the biggest big conference matchup that I saw all year with the biggest quarterback mismatch.
It really had a wah by the time we got to kickoff.
It felt like they put you in at quarterback. It really did. Like it just
it was
Texas versus Florida.
Except for the Ivy League part. You're absolutely right.
Except for the Ivy League. Hey, you were a Samaritan or Kumalan Dardis or something, right?
I was both of those things, yes. I was a Sumitarian cum lardist. That's what I was. That's what they called me.
Don't you sell yourself short.
That's right. You're a tremendous slouch.
Let's play buy or sell. I got questions.
All right, let's do it. It's good. That helps out. Well, you want to go first or second?
I'll go first.
All righty.
Buy or sell number one, Amari Niblack should have kept his ass where he was.
See, this is where, and I'm glad you did this because I wanted to talk to you and get your thoughts. I'm a buy guy here, but that's where I feel like I'm too old school. My thought is buy. Helms headed out. If Helms gone and Juan Davis is gone, the opportunity is going to be there, young man. Show them what you got. You've shown them a little bit. Now show them even more. Your opportunities are there. I would have said buy. Maybe that's not the right way to think about it in this modern college football catch, but to me, that's an easy buy, and Niblack should have stayed put. Arch Manning is going to be throwing you to football, and you don't want that? I didn't get it.
Well, and from a Texas perspective, I think they do now have to try in the portal. They need somebody to come in. Like that's
right.
That's a big enough loss for Texas that my initial instinct is, the kid that they didn't get in the portal that went to Ohio State, that's a guy that in retrospect, timing is everything. And maybe in retrospect, that's a guy that you should have offered a little bit more money to maybe get that kid in.
Maybe. And to be fair, he caught 5 balls last year. Would Sark and the coaching staff catch just tell us, look, guys, if it was going to happen, it would have happened.
I think he would have been a starter.
We're just moving on.
I think Niblack would be with the first team offense on the first day of spring workouts.
See, I do too. That's what I'm thinking. That's why I would have told him to stay.
And look, it wasn't like Texas ran him out. In fact, just
So your understanding is they wanted him for sure.
Oh yeah.
Right. Okay.
And the message I got was, quote, "He is being dumb," end quote. I asked, because to be fair, I texted him and said, "What the hell is Nyblack doing?"
Right.
And his response was, "He's being dumb."
Yeah.
And so it was not a guy that it wasn't like they nudged him. That was not what happened. He is, again, along with Sydir Mitchell, those are two guys they would like to have kept.
Okay. Well, I wanted to get you to talk about it because that's what I was thinking. But again, sometimes I feel like I'm some old man there where it's just like, just wait your turn and then it'll be your opportunity. And I don't want to feel all clunky when I'm saying that, but that's what I absolutely thought with him.
He is being dumb. That was the official response.
He's being dumb. All right, there you go. Yeah, I would have, if I'm Nyblack, I would have absolutely come back.
And look, maybe
this makes total sense.
Because Nyblack's the only guy, if you're Sark, if he wanted to come back, you could make an example out of him and it wouldn't be so critical that you could argue that, you know what, it's more valuable for us, for everybody on that team to know that he tried to come back.
Right.
And we would not let him, because once you go, you're gone, baby.
Now, here's the only thing. Here's the only thing, Catch. Could it be a little bit of a Jonte Cook thing where Nyblack would tell us, look what they've done. They bring all this in the portal. They were going to bring somebody in the portal to take my reps, and I wouldn't have got the opportunity.
All I'm saying is pride is one of them 7 deadlies, and you could take a hardline stance, or if in 48 hours from now that kid says, "Hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It won't happen again. Like, can I come back?"
Yeah.
You know what, Sark? If that happened, because he's not the only one that was on the fence.
Right.
There were a handful of guys that were on the fence.
Sure.
And the only difference really between him and the other guys is that a couple of days ago, Nyblack decided he was going to go, and the other guys decided not to. But if I'd asked you on Monday, a couple of these guys, they thought they were going to lose. So that's where I think Sark came in and played a big role.
Right.
And maybe gave the closing pitch that was needed.
Yeah. And of course, and Nyblack can always come, he can always come out of the portal.
That's what I'm saying. He could, because he didn't come for free.
Yeah.
He was heavily sought out of last year's portal. Texas brought him in thinking that he would be a key part of the team. So they've invested equity. Now they wasted their money with Amari Nyblack. What, let's say, and I'm throwing out a number because I have no idea, but let's say they gave him $300,000 in NIL money. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say anything higher just because it sounds like a lot, and maybe they did. I don't know. Yeah. But I remember being told last year that the transfer numbers had come down from back when Diamante Tucker Dorsey was reportedly getting 300 plus. 350 maybe. That's what I'd heard. Whether or not that was the real number, kind of crazy when you think about it. That guy wasn't even a starter.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what Texas was doing early on. So I doubt they overextended themselves, but they didn't get anything from him last year, so they just pissed that money away.
Yep.
Whatever they gave, they didn't get anything back on. And so I think, if I'd cut the check that brought Amari Nyblack to Texas, I would say, hey, can we come back? But you could also make the case that if the number, let's say, was $250,000 and he didn't play, there might also be some people that would be like, hey, you know what? Well, how about we not up that to $500,000 over 2 years and him not be good enough to play? So I think we're somewhere probably in the middle of those two things, where on one hand, you're vested to some degree, and all things being equal, you'd rather not have just not gotten anything for your time and your money. And you're also so you're there, But you also might be asking, like, hey, if we're going to throw $250,000, $300,000 at a tight end, are we sure we want it to be him? So the problem is there's nobody available right now. Like, if you're at home and you're watching this video, or in your car, or sitting in a park. Sorry, Chad. I can't. Sometimes my brain just does it.
Or in a diving bell.
And we're in the middle of a buy or sell question.
Or sitting in a driveway. By the way,
buy or sell question number one.
I was just about to say, best buy or sell number one ever.
I'm sorry, but you wanted me to talk about it. So
I asked for this dragon. I asked for it for all of you that get in the chat and go off on when Ketch just won't stop talking. We asked for this. I asked for him to talk. It was the best buy or sell number one ever. It's already Saturday. Like, they're going to kick the NFL game in 12 minutes. 12 minutes from now, the Texans and the Chiefs kick off.
If you're 90 minutes into this show and you are looking at the clock when I talk.
How dare you?
And you know what the definition of insanity is, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be it.
Expecting him to stop talking. That's the definition of insanity.
Buy or sell number two.
Yes.
Trey Wisner will rush for 1,000+ yards next season.
Ooh, a back-to-back reference. Yeah, let's buy. Extra games in the playoff. We saw it come through. He had 1,000 this year, and it didn't even feel like a, oh my God, did you see Trey Wisner like for the whole season? So with those extra games there, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll say he goes back to back.
Buy or sell number three. You missed Thursday night football last night.
Yeah, that's a buy. There was a little feeling at about 6:20 or so, and the little puppy dog inside my soul went, thinking. So you know what I did? I actually went back and watched a little bit of Texas and Ohio State, just so I could watch a little football. Like, I've still got an NFL game and that on my DVR. And if I need it, I just go have a little morsel. So I watched like a drive and a half just to satiate myself. Yes, I missed it.
Chad, that might be the most like for like thing that you and I have. You know what I mean? Like, you described it perfectly.
Man, you
did.
Just that little, sad.
Yeah, you didn't need a whole game, but there was a moment when you were like, Thursday.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. That was it.
Buy or sell number four. Sour Patch Kids. Better movie snack than hot dogs.
This is interesting. This is an interesting one.
It's a very specific. I'm not asking candy.
Right. You're going very specific. I will say that of these two options, I'm not a big fan of either during a movie. For me, though, I'm going to sell and go hot dogs because in my candy world, Catch, I don't like a super chewy candy during a movie. Not that kind of chewy. Not the gummy chewy. I'm a Skittles man, and that's usually my go-to. So I like that, the little bit of the crunchy chewy, not the like gummy chewy stuff. So I'm going to sell, and I'll just take a hot dog.
When was the last time you had a hot dog at a movie?
It's been at least a couple years. If my wife and I do any kind of food, real food in it, usually we'll hit nachos. But hot dog, it's been a little while.
The original buy or sell was Sour Patch Kids better movie snack than pickles.
Oh, well, that would have had to be a buy because I'm not going to eat a pickle during a movie.
When was that a thing? Because
I don't know.
I used to go, when I would go to the movie theater, you see the pickles.
The jar. Remember the jar? It was this big. Kids in the movie theaters and in convenience stores, they used to have jars like 3 feet tall with the green liquid, and they were just full of pickles. And people would go in like truckers.
People get truckers? Because I'm like, what people? Who ate the pickle?
Truckers on an all-night run or whacked out movie people would come in and say, hey, fish me one of those pickles out, wrap a little half a napkin around it, and hand it to me. and I'm gonna go crush it while I watch James Bond. Like it used to happen all the time.
Now look, I'm a fan of like the mini dill pickles. You know what? I don't know. I don't have anything. You know, like a pickle that's like the size of your finger.
Okay, but you're talking about like, oh, I got you, just to eat, just a little.
Yeah,
snack.
like I'll eat those. I like those out of the jar.
We're talking about pickles that were like.
I've never had one of those big ass movie pickles in my entire life.
No,
never. At no point, if I was hungry and it was like, well, we got a jar of pickles, I'd be like, well, I'm overweight. I can wait.
Catch. I can remember going to the movies and my niece comes along. She was like single digit to like 10-ish maybe. And she loves pickles. She actually got them to fish one of those out. I almost left her at the theater. Like I almost left her there. Like
I've definitely never sat with anybody that gnawed on a big ass pickle. I've never seen that.
Whole damn movie. I'm smelling pickles and hearing crunch, crunch, crunch. Will you shut up?
I would divorce my wife. Like I've almost like she likes mayonnaise. And it almost is like, you know what? I changed my mind. Not death till do us part. Like mayonnaise is a deal breaker. Man, if my wife was at a movie, if we were at like the Alamo Draft House, and you're right, like in the smell, like, no, man, you know what? Because that would make me not want to go to the movies with her.
Because it's real. You can't daintily eat that pickle. There's no way to like daintily, cleanly. You have to do it like a grizzly bear.
You have to gnaw on it.
You do. It's like if you had a turkey leg in a movie. That wouldn't be as loud, but it'd be annoying the same way. Because you're like, is that person just chawing on a turkey leg? What's happening?
All right. Next time I go into a movie theater where I see pickles, I'm going to ask the person.
Yeah.
Last time you sold a pickle.
How often? Exactly.
And tell me, what do the people look like that get pickles?
Yeah, it's a good call.
Have you ever had an 18-year-old like it's a teenage boy maybe that does it. If anybody was going to do it, it's like a high school kid that would eat a booger for $10.
Now, you're right. That's a good point. To be fair, if it's more than two teenage boys and one of them starts the phrase with, I bet you won't eat, and then they get a pickle, that makes sense. If it's a dare,
I bet you won't eat.
In fact, they ought to put a sign that just says dare pickles. That's what it should be called. It should only be dares. I bet you won't eat.
We just workshopped what they need to be doing at movie theaters.
Bet you won't eat 3 of them during the movie. Bet you I do. I bet you I down 3 of these pickles before Dune is over. Okay, here we go.
That's the only way.
Yes.
That's the only way.
That's how.
Because if we were talking about like teenage girls, they're not even touching the pickle.
No,
it's like,
you want to stay away from that. Only my
your daughter's not going to a movie theater. It's like, Dad, can I get a pickle?
Yeah, only my niece, who is now thankfully 24 years old. She's no longer the crazy teenager with the pickles.
Text her and ask her if she still gets pickles when she goes to the movies.
Oh, she probably. Dude, she's going to get married at the end of this year. They're going to have a pickle bar at the wedding.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. They are. I'm going to take pictures of it for you. I promise.
Wait. That's they're going to have a pickle bar?
Yep. That's a real thing. This girl is all in on pickles. And I told her,
she loves pickles.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you have at a pickle bar? How many kinds of relish? How many kinds of pickles? And she's like, I don't know. We're figuring it out.
Hey, man, if they get like the little dill pickles that have like the little grooves on them, I forget even like who makes the pickles. But I do love me, like, you know, and they're like low calories.
I'll get you full coverage. I'll get you full coverage.
Pickle out of the jar, and it's like, well, what was that? It was like, 5 calories.
Yeah,
you eat the whole jar for under 100 calories.
I'll make sure to get you a video of that one in November. She's getting married in November with a pickle bar.
Okay. Yeah. Buy or sell number 5. It's prime on prime hotter than.
Okay.
Betty White. Hotter than Angela Lansbury.
Oh. I like this one. Both legends. Just all-time legends, long, illustrious careers. Betty would have had a birthday today. I see what you're doing. Would have been 103 today. one of my absolute favorites. I got to buy this and go Betty White. Not that I don't like Angela Lansbury, but with Betty, I'm getting a little bit happier resting face. Angela Lansbury kind of has like resting mad face. And with Betty, I get that beautiful smile. I get all those stories. I get that incredible attitude. She's my favorite game show guest host of all time. And yeah, I'm going to go Betty White. I'm going Betty White with a bye. Angela Lansbury, I dig you, but I was more devoted to Betty during their run than I was to Lansbury. So I'm going to go with Betty White. Love me some. Was Betty White your favorite Golden Girl?
No.
Who was your favorite Golden Girl?
Blanche.
Rue McClanahan.
I mean,
bring it.
Do you know what's funny about that is in our old fantasy football league, the one that I canceled, our divisions were named after the Golden Girls. So you were
sweet.
You could be in the I was in the Rue McClanahan division for years.
And you went with the actress's name, not the character's name?
Correct.
Okay. So Rue McClanahan, Estelle Getty, Betty White, and B. Arthur. Those were your four?
B was the only one that didn't get a division.
Why not?
Because we only had 3 divisions. Somebody had to be left out.
I got you. Okay. All right. There it is. Happy birthday to Betty White today. Made it to
Alex is maybe watching right now, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I spent some time in the Estelle Getty division."
That's it. And remember Betty almost made it to 100. She was 99 when she died. She died in December, and her birthday is today in January.
If you go do a young Betty White sexy Google search,
she's so beautiful.
And then a young Angela Lansbury sexy Google search.
Oh, yeah.
It's highly competitive.
Oh, it is. They're both great. Again, I'm just going on what I'm more familiar with. I just watched a lot more Betty. My mom was a huge Betty White fan growing up. So I saw when I was growing up. So I just watched a lot of Betty White.
It's competitive. It's close enough that I don't know if there's an actual right answer.
It's a good battle. It is a good battle. I have a battle for you, too, at the end of this. But we'll start with buy or sell number 1, Catch. Texas lost to the champs, Ohio State, by 10 or more on Monday.
Sell. I think that game is going to play very competitively.
Okay.
But I by Ohio State by 10 plus.
Yeah. I'm at about 10. I could see it 10 to 17, somewhere in there. I could see it. I don't think it'll be outside of that, but that's kind of the window I'm thinking. Catch to the NFL. Buy or sell number 2, NFC. Lions and Rams win.
Sell.
Sell, and you like the Eagles and Lions?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Lions and Eagles. Where is Washington is playing the Lions, right?
That is correct.
Okay, yeah. No, I like the Lions and the Eagles.
Gotcha. Other side of it, buy or sell number 3. AFC, Kansas City and Baltimore win.
Sell. I'll go Kansas City and Buffalo.
Ooh, I'm telling you, as long as we can get, with all due respect to you Texans fans, if we can just get Kansas City to win that game, Catch, tomorrow afternoon, and we know at kickoff in Orchard Park that the winner gets Mahomes, holy smokes.
I'm rooting for – I like Buffalo, but I'm rooting – we need a Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes AFC Championship game.
You want the rematch with those two, right?
Because
that's what last year was, wasn't it?
What was last year?
Yeah, right?
I don't remember.
I think it was. Or was it Josh? I can never those guys are interchangeable sometimes in my head. I think it was Baltimore, Kansas City last year. I think Kansas City was that was one that knocked them out, right?
Chiefs won that 17-10.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see. I'll either one. Again, if we get to that point, and I know it's either Lamar or Josh, and the winner gets Mahomes, man, that's what I'm looking for. All right, Catch, let's go to the
Texans fans, but it's hard not to just assume that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to win that game.
Yes, that exactly. All right, Catch, let's go to the bottom of the NFL. Buy or sell number 4. Jerry is going to interview Kellen Moore for the head coaching job. There's your favorite in the clubhouse. Right on brand for Jerry.
Sell. That is not my, well, what?
Not for you.
It's not in my personal clubhouse. It's in Jerry's clubhouse.
Right. I'm saying right now, would you consider that the favorite from everything you've heard and what you know about Jerry? That's the favorite to get the job, and it's right on brand for Jerry.
I mean, that's a buy.
Yeah.
So when I saw that for the first time, it was so deflating.
I almost vomited in my mouth when I saw that.
The universal face was...
Yeah. Yep. It gave me Jason Garrett flashbacks. Did you get the Jason Garrett flashbacks like I did? I saw his face. I saw 5 and 11.
I get it. I get it.
God. Just terrible.
The thing is, we're post Jason Garrett. So Jason Garrett the Jason Garrett hire didn't feel like a Jason Garrett hire at the time.
Right.
Now it's a Jason Garrett hire.
Yeah. Now it's a thing. Oh, yeah. We'll see. Also, Leslie Frazier, apparently on the Cowboys list.
I would take Leslie Frazier ahead of
Kellen Moore.
I'd be fine.
What about Robert Saleh? You like that idea? Former Jets guy?
No, because I don't think he's smart.
Okay.
Let me tell you my problem with Robert Saleh is I think he's a great defensive coordinator and not a great head coach, because when I watch him as a head coach, I find myself going, can he count by intervals of 40? Like time management, game management, things like that. As much as I hate Aaron Rodgers now, like he just wears my ass out. When Aaron Rodgers looks at Robert Saleh and does not respect him as a coach, not as a man, but he looks at Robert Saleh and thinks, man, you're not even Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy wasn't good enough to coach me. But I like Robert Saleh, the human being, and the guy seems like the kind of guy that from like a messaging standpoint, it's like, I don't mind that guy being my coach as long as you're like, I don't ever expect to win anything, but I like him.
God,
I don't know that I like Mike McCarthy. Is Mike McCarthy a good hang?
A good hang?
Yeah, like I think Saleh's a good hang. Like I think if we were having I think Saleh would come over to your house and charm your wife. Like she'd be like, I like it when Robert comes over, and I think he'd hang out. I think he's a guy that you could hang out and have a good time with. I don't know about Mike McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy is an acquired taste. And I bet like his friends would say, we love Mike, but I bet they would say, he's not like the life of the party.
No, I wouldn't imagine that. No.
Or is Mike McCarthy the life of the party and we just don't know it because we can't see beyond his Mike McCarthy-ness on the job?
Maybe that's where Jerry is at this point in his career, Catch. It's not about go offense to defense or go super intense to players coach. Maybe it's just go not life of the party to life of the party. Maybe that's what he's thinking of for this next move.
That's why I hired Barry.
There you go. Maybe it's back to that.
If you go back to 95, think about who Jerry was and what hiring Barry Switzer. You went from a coach who wouldn't toast to you in front of other coaches. He would not raise his glass and toast to you. To Barry Switzer, who would go drinking with you.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Lots of toasts.
Barry's like, oh, shots.
Yeah. You know, by the end of it, Jerry really got tired of Barry's toast. Barry'd probably call him in the middle of the night. Jerry, we're going to toast to you. Dude, go to bed. What are you talking about?
Because I'm telling you, I got to spend a little bit of time around Barry Switzer when he was a coach of the Cowboys when they came to training camp. I've told a few Barry stories. Talk about charming.
Oh, yeah.
He's as charming as any man I have ever met. That when it was over with, I remember just thinking to myself, I don't know how Texas fans hate this guy. He's awesome. Like Barry Switzer is an awesome guy. He might sleep with your wife. Larry Lacewell's watching the show right now, and he's like, well,
yeah.
They say that about him, but let me tell you, not that great of a guy.
There are things that can affect the awesome, Catch. There are things that can affect the awesome.
I'm not saying he couldn't trip and fall on top of your wife. I'm just saying that in general, I bet everybody that's ever spent an hour with Barry Switzer would describe him as fun to be around.
Yeah. All right, Catch. To finish up, I do have a hotter than for you. Buy or sell number 5. I am going to post, you asked for it, I'm going to post my top 10 favorite wrestling matches next week on orangebloods.com. Until then, Prime on Prime, Miss Elizabeth, hotter than sunshine.
Bye.
Okay.
Occasionally I will forget what Miss Sunshine looked like.
Right.
So I'll go onto YouTube and type her in.
Mm-hmm.
And I will be reminded that she had a very specific 1985 Katrina and the Waves look.
That is such a specific reference, but it's well done. It is well done, and I may never see her again without hearing that song in my head. That's well played. Yeah, it's a good call.
Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
There it is. There's your buy or sell. All right, let me scan the chat real quick. There's I don't see any super.
Makes me want to watch The Secret of My Success.
Yeah, I love that movie. Love that movie. Real quick, just to give Texas fans a good feeling, Catch, on the way out, our man David Keith jumped in earlier and said, as a Longhorns fan, I think Arch Manning will actually be better than all of them. This feeling you have, David Keith, that's why 2025 is going to be incredible if you're a Texas fan. And maybe 2026 too. Because, Catch, when you're a football fan and they start talking about all their quarterback play and all you can think of is, I'll take my guy. I got my guy. We're good. My quarterback's right there. You play whoever you want. I think Texas fans are in that mindset right now. We'll see how it progresses during the season.
How many teams in college football felt that way this year?
Oh, my God. I mean, it depends on when you ask that question. It depends
the answer is 0.
It depends on when. There's little windows where you might have asked a Bama or Georgia fan or maybe Ohio, but no, I can't think of one off the top of my head. Colorado fans? Maybe Colorado fans. Good or bad, they would have said, you know what? Shadur's the guy.
That's probably right. Yeah.
Right. Sanders is our guy. We'll fight you with Sanders. You bring whoever you want. That's the cool part about a Texas fan next year. It's like, no, man, we're coming to Athens, and we know it's going to be tough, but this is our dude. Y'all bring whoever you want. We want to see how Arch measures up to your guy. And it's going to be all season long.
I'm with you on that. Like, I'm thinking Cam Ward, but I'm like, I don't know. Did Miami fans by the end of it, they were like, we'll never be able to replace Cam Ward ever?
You wouldn't trade it. You wouldn't trade it because we talked about it. Texas fans don't want a rival to have had Arch Manning.
If I asked a Miami fan, would they rather have Shador Sanders or Cam Ward? I bet a large number of them would have said Sanders.
Maybe. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That because the beginning of the year feeling with Ward is different than it is now.
Correct.
But the way Texas fans are going to go into Columbus with a feeling about Arch, that's special stuff, David Keith. You hang on to that because every fan base doesn't get it. And we know the Texas fan base does not have it all the time. Does not consistently always have that feeling. But
did Texas feel that way about Colt?
Eventually.
By the end of his senior year, going in, if I'd asked Texas fans, you could trade Colt McCoy for Sam Bradford, you think Texas fans would have been like, no, Colt's my guy?
Yes, I do. After the
do too.
08 run where the computers screw him and he's coming back, not everybody was coming back with him, but he's coming back for 09. I think a Texas fan would say, I want Colt.
So Vince Young in 2005 and Colt McCoy in 2009 are the only two quarterbacks in the history of Texas football we could, in our lifetimes, that we've ever seen that you could say that about.
I'm not sure if it's the only ones. I mean,
think it is.
Maybe.
Who else would even be on the list? Maybe James Brown. But as good as James was, because he was a guy Texas fans had a love affair with.
But that's what, okay, so that was
he was never the best quarterback in the country.
But that's what I just thought of. At the beginning of the 96 season, would Texas fans have traded him for somebody else? You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Because at that point, you got like Peyton Manning's playing college football, ironically. And
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. You might be right. It might be it. David Keith, thank you as always for a great chat.
David Keith, so that all, like, next season is the third time in the history of Texas football in the modern era, right? Because I would imagine you'd get some Texas fans that would say James Street was like that, but like they ran a completely different offense. You know,
I mean, do Texas fans have that feeling about Gardere?
No,
during that time.
No.
He didn't have that. But yeah, it's special.
Are you Peter Gardere or Ty Detmer? Like, no.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about when you get one of these guys that's one of 32 in the NFL, and you can be an NFL fan and you'll just go to war with your guy. That's what Buffalo fans are about to do. And that's what Baltimore fans are about to do. Because I don't think any of them would trade for the other guy at kickoff. I really don't. You could ask them all. Hey, do you guys want Lamar? Nope. We want Josh. Hey, do you guys want Josh? No.
Exactly.
Right? We got our guy. We will live and die with him. That's such a cool thing to be able to do as a fan base. And that's what's interesting to me also catch for Sark and the coaches and some of the other players. Because a lot of times, whatever goes wrong on an offense gets blamed on the quarterback. Just wait for 2025 Texas. I'm not saying Arch will never get blamed for anything, but boy, there'll be moments where the fans, knowing who he is,
the national media will Sark will be under such scrutiny.
The feeling around him, Sark's play calling, and hey, all you receivers and running backs, if this part of your finger touches the football, you better catch it. You better catch it. Because it's going to be there. Because then the guy in the stands isn't talking about the backup quarterback. Then the guy in the stands says, we should have gotten more receivers out of the portal. I told you, Arch needs help. Arch needs help. That's what it turns into. It's going to be something. Going to be something. All right.
Hey, last thought.
Yes, sir.
Is Troy the only Cowboys quarterback in your lifetime that you felt that way about? You and I miss Roger. My first Cowboy game memory really is from the 1980 season.
Now, this may be an incorrect feeling, but I'll just tell you, heart wants what the heart wants. When I was a kid getting started as a Cowboys fan, I was a Danny White guy. Danny was my guy.
But not Danny White over every quarterback in the NFL. You did not love Danny White so much.
But you're right. No, you're right.
Traded him?
You're right. Because, yeah, after watching one, two, depending on which season you're talking about, I would have driven to Danny's house, helped him pack, and then driven him to wherever Joe Montana lived. And then Joe and I would have driven back to Irving.
Because look, I was a Danny White fan, but my mom hated Danny White.
Right. I remember you
talk shit about Danny White.
I was a Danny White guy as a Cowboys fan, but to your point, yeah, there were dudes that I would have taken before him. I still think Joe Montana might be the best quarterback maybe my eyes have ever seen, but certainly in that era, I'd have taken Montana in a second over just about anybody.
Think about Aikman for a second. When he and Steve Young are battling it out, we wouldn't have traded Troy for Steve Young.
No.
And at the time, Steve Young was he was kind of the Aaron Rodgers before Aaron Rodgers, in that when I watched Steve Young, I was like, I've never seen that before. Steve Young would do stuff in games, and you would go,
Yep.
oh, that's possible at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And yet I wouldn't have traded him for 8.
It's a great point.
Because we were like, you know what? What's the purpose of the game? To win. You know what? Give me 8.
Yep, I'm with you. No, it's a great way to say it. And then all those Niner fans wouldn't have thought about taking Troy. They wouldn't have thought about it. They wanted Young.
And we'd have been like, totally get it.
Like, yeah, here we go. Yeah,
just like this weekend. Believe me, if a Baltimore fan says I wouldn't trade Lamar Jackson for anything, hey man, I get it.
It's it. Hey, that fan base, the 3 fan bases in the hell, all 4 of them, even if the Texans get beat by 3 touchdowns, those fans, I don't know if they'd trade their guy right now because they love Stroud and they think he's the guy. And I think they're going to ride with. I mean, would they take Mahomes in that game? Probably.
Thing about Romo is there are various points in his career where you would never take him above Peyton or Brady, but he almost enters he's my guy and I'll ride with him, but not because you believe in him, not because you think he's actually going to do the damn thing. But Romo did get to a point where it was like, you know what? I want it so badly for him that I'm willing to ride with him and let's go. He's my quarterback.
Right. And that's a great boundary line with what David Keith threw us about Texas.
Yes.
It's different when you say he's your guy versus I think he's better than all of them. Because I
wouldn't trade him because I think he's the best path to victory.
Yeah, I never would have done that with Romo.
And the problem with Dak is that we've never felt that way about him ever. Not even close. No. I brought up Romo to get to Dak because I think I was closer with Romo from a sentimental standpoint than I've ever been with Dak. And I always kind of thought, I know it's 2:00, so it really is time to go. I kind of at one point thought Romo could get there, and I've never thought that with Dak. And I don't know if that's Dak's fault because it might have been Romo that caused me to get to the point where it was like, oh, the Cowboys are just never going to win ever again in my lifetime. And that impacts every player because every player I look at and go, well, you're from the era where I know I'm never going to be happy watching you play.
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. But
as much as I love Micah Parsons, it's like, well, when it's over with, will I be romantic about having been able to watch Micah Parsons? And I'll be like, well, he's no Tony Tolbert.
Yeah. No, he's just going to go on that wasted list, the list of guys whose careers
the DeMarcus Ware list.
He's on the DeMarcus Ware list, the Jason Witten list.
Like, oh, he was awesome, but we never had good times together.
Yeah, you just go down the line. He wasn't on a team that, he wasn't on a team that valued it enough to really get him there. But
I've heard of marriages like this where it's like, how is that marriage? Oh, she's great. We didn't like each other, but like, she's awesome.
Yeah. It's
like
you get the highest level steak that's ever been made and you take 2 bites and then just leave it on a table and walk away. You've wasted the rest of it. It's like, oh, okay. Who's that? That's DeMarcus Ware. Oh. That's Micah Parsons. Oh, there it is.
I felt that way about Everson Walls. God, I cannot believe I rooted for the Giants to win a Super Bowl because I wanted Everson Walls to get a ring. That's how pathetic the Cowboys were at the end. Whenever people get mad about Tom getting fired, keep in mind it was so bad at the end. And look, Everson got that first year with Jimmy. Where Jimmy wasn't having Everson at all.
Yep.
God.
No, it's funny. Yeah, you and I agree on that feeling because I didn't know I wasn't rooting for either one of those teams that night in Super Bowl 25. But when I saw Everson Walls celebrate, my heart felt good for him.
Yeah, it was like I'm glad Everson had that.
Good for him. Yeah, no, I did it with DeMarcus Ware. When DeMarcus Ware was on that team, I don't like Denver, but when I saw it happen, I went, oh yeah.
You know what that's like?
Happy for DeMarcus.
It's like later in life coming across somebody that you've dated.
Yeah.
And they're like happy in life with like they're married with kids. And I saw somebody like that this week. I saw a guy that I wasn't really like homeboys with, like we hung out together. And then Facebook suggested that I become friends with his wife, except I didn't know that he was married. So I clicked and like looked at his wife and like looked at their photos, and they've got kids and stuff. And I was like, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Like good for him. Whereas, I didn't feel that way about Ken Norton Jr. when he left the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's a little different. You're right. Yeah. That's a little different. That's a little different feeling. All right, real quick before we get out of here, Catch, let's remind everybody about the watch party on Monday.
Come out.
It is happening at TCH Social Austin. Those two running backs going at it. National championship on the line, and the whole OB crew is coming out. So come on out and see everybody. $1 draft, $2 jellyfish. Once again, 5:30 until 1 hour after the game. Come try some of this great food. The Bad Beat Bacon cannot be beaten, and that big, beautiful screen will be waiting on us. 6:30 kick, so the specials again start at 5:30. Also, another reminder, if you are ready for some online poker, it's back. Hijackpoker.com. Texas Card House is bringing online poker back to the people of the great state of Texas. You just get it on any device you want. There's your QR code. The offer of OB20, use that code through the 31st, and you will get, still got a couple weeks there, you'll get $20 in free play. Get your online poker fix going as well. Thanks to TCH. Can't wait to get out there again on Monday. Catch, if I'm going to have to watch Notre Dame and Ohio State play for a title, might as well have some Bad Beat Bacon and a good drink special going.
I've also been told that the new pork belly sliders are a must.
Pork belly sliders.
I was told that is like the chef is super, like that's the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that by yesterday, like, hey, you're going to want to check it out.
Okay. Well, now there's research to be done, right?
Hey man, you're not a good team player. You're not a good partner of TCH if you don't engage in the new pork belly sliders.
I've been saying it for years. I would never, ever ask the people to do something that I would not do myself. So I'm going to have to do that and let them know how it is. So come on, try those pork belly sliders.
Hey, remember when I used to do beer spots as a non-beer drinker?
I do. I do. Yes. It was easily one of my favorite things in the world. I would sit across the room and listen to the artistic quality of those spots.
I never lied.
They were amazing. You
never lied. I never said I drank the beer ever.
You never did. Yep. You never did. I would listen to you do those spots, and all I would think of is, that's more for me when that beer comes around. That is more for me. More for me.
Oh.
Shout out to the good folks at Coors Light. All right. Okay. I think we are done with the super chats. I don't see any there. Anything else, Catch, before we close up for the week?
No, man. Let's go into the weekend.
Let's do it. Divisional round of the NFL. Always fun. And again, we'll see you Monday night for TCH Social Austin. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and getting those notifications. We are over 13 million views on the channel. Thank you so much for helping us get there. And we're now up over 24,000 subscribers. So if you didn't subscribe on the way in, subscribe on the way out. If you didn't like on the way in, go ahead and give it a like on the way out. We would appreciate you
Pretty please.
for that. Thank you so much. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay warm or dry or boat or stay cold, whatever you need to do. Have a good weekend. We'll be back Monday.
Make love to whoever the hell you want.
We'll be back at noon on Monday for another House Divided. And shout out to Tom and Camilla McKay. Y'all take care. See ya.